Hello, everybody out there watching on YouTube, and welcome to race number 18 of Season 6 of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series. I'm Levi McIntyre, the voice of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series, here to welcome you to the Pepsi 400 at the track that began this season, Daytona International Speedway, as we're getting set for 30 laps of racing for the night special here at Daytona. But before we take a look at the starting lineup, let's take a look at the point standings coming into the race tonight. So after our last race, Rob Evans still leads the points, but only by 8 over Jessica Shelton. Third is Matt McIntyre, fourth is Jonathan Zorline, fifth is Trent Dunham, sixth is Cole Deaver, seventh Dylan Poteet, eighth Jake Baskinger, ninth Anthony McCrory, and then 10th is James McLeod. Still plenty of time for a lot of drivers to work their way up into a fight for the championship, because remember, after the race here tonight, we will have made it halfway through Season 6 and we'll still have 18 races left to go. But let's take a look at the starting lineup. Starting in the last row, we have Joshua Sekuli and Logan Bradley. Top 10, Seth Cole is on the pole for tonight. Starting next to him is Benjamin Miles. Row 2 is Raphael LeDuc, Jay Jefferson. Row 3, James Shelley, Johnny Gardner. Row 4, teammates Dylan Jacobs and Jordan Forbes. And then row 5 are also teammates Jessica Shelton and James Qualls. Let's go ahead and get the command to fire engines for the Pepsi 400 at Daytona!
Drivers, start your engines!
All 40 drivers now on the racetrack for their one pace lap around here. Now, of course, as I always mention, with these special racetracks like Daytona, Talladega, Bermuda, Armory Digital, and even now South Carolina and perhaps a couple of others, we are running that special package with CTS physics and a different EXE of this game. So last time we were here at Daytona, we had quite arguably the greatest Daytona 500 we have ever had in the history of the Marvel Studios Cup Series. Can we repeat that kind of magic for the 400 miler? I got expectations thinking that it probably can. It all just depends on how these drivers are going to race each other. Now, of course, when we ran the Daytona 500, we saw quite a few different lanes really work in some drivers' favors. Can we see something like that here tonight? We're about to find out as we're coming off of turn number 4 to get ready to go racing here at Daytona. Pace car's getting ready to pull into pit road, and he's pulling in now. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to boogity 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 go racing. Well, it was Raphael LeDuc who led the first lap, but now James Shelley has the race lead to himself. Now, of course, as I forget to mention here with Daytona, with this package, as you could kind of see, some cars will scrape the outside wall just a tad off of turn 2 in particular, everywhere else they're able to manage. And also when you're running the very low line, cars will tend to hug that double yellow line a little bit to try and stay out of the way of anybody in the middle or high side. But now we got a new leader up here at the front, Jessica Shelton, and if I recall, she won back at Talladega a while back, I believe. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure she won at Talladega earlier this season. So she definitely knows how to get it done at restrictor plate racetracks. And in fact, almost won at South Carolina just a few weeks ago, and I believe got a third place run out of that. And right now hanging on to the race lead, but only for just a moment, as here comes Phil Parker in the 00 to the inside. Phil Parker, the winner from California, way early in the season. And Phil Parker, as of late, he's kind of been going up and down in the points. This time around, he comes in 12th in the championship standings, trying to get some momentum on his side to go after the championship. But while he has the lead, here comes one of his bosses and teammates, Matt McIntyre, now up to the point, and right behind him is the points leader, Rob Evans, in that 88. And look at both he and Anthony McCurry in the 61 dive low and nearly wrecked Logan Bradley, but that worked out for them as they get up to the front. But now McCurry, with that run on the inside, is going to be there to try and take the lead away from Rob Evans. Cody Lamas, who fell out of the top 12 in points, actually. Let me look at where Cody Lamas is right now. 14th, he fell from 11th after the last race we ran, which was Pocono, I want to say. Meanwhile, Anthony McCurry right now holding them off strong in the race lead. But man, they are 3x3 several rows deep behind them as the field's starting to scatter quite a bit as drivers are trying to find friends are where you find them to get up to the front here at Daytona. And now Cody Lamas now up to the point with help from Trent Dunham. Speaking of Trent Dunham, this is actually going to be his farewell season in the Marvel Studios Cup Series, at least for now, unless he wants to come back in Season 8. Because Season 7's pretty much almost dead set confirmed. Though there could be some changes depending on what some people are going to do after this season or people I want to bring in. We'll just have to wait and see as the season progresses to find out who's going to be officially participating in Season 7. But right now I have a good idea as to who's coming back and who's not. Meanwhile, one of the drivers for sure coming back, Michael Norman, who won the Daytona 500 earlier this season, he now finds himself up here at the front of the field. And he got a bit of a push from affiliate teammate Tim Fiegel as close at the line, but it was Norman who led the lap, but now Fiegel has the run underneath the 3, but he left the bottom open as here comes Jake Rogers in the 56. Jake Rogers, one of those guys who will be coming back next season. In fact, he's going to be replacing Jay Jefferson in the 87 car next season for Kamikaze Racing, as Jay Jefferson's actually going to be joining a brand new team owned by James Qualls called Qualls Racing Corporation, as he's going to drive the number 5 next season. So that's going to be quite exciting for the driver I like to call Double J. 3 wide for the lead. Dylan Young, I believe, led that lap, but Carson Gum trying to run the middle. But meanwhile, on the bottom is Dylan Young's teammate Zachary Fitzwater, who I believe will be back in that 12 car next season, as they are 3 wide, so many rows deep, it's crazy. And I saw some scraps come off of someone. That might have been Dylan Young, but he's still holding strong. As meanwhile, Carson Gum with that tandem push from Rob Evans gets to the lead by using the outside line. As I can tell, as tires start to wear just a little bit, we're going to see different lines kick in depending on who all is with you in the draft. As right there, he had a bit of a tandem between Rob Evans and Carson Gum that helped Carson Gum get up to the front for a moment. Jake Baskinger actually led the lap, and here comes former series champion Joshua Sekuli. Now, Sekuli next season will return to Curtis McIntyre Racing, but instead is going to drive the 00 car. He won't be in the 10. In fact, I'm not sure who's going to be in the 10 next season. And whoa, holy cow, and we just got the big one. Multiple cars involved. That's at least 8 or 9 cars. Michael Norman, the 500 winner, was involved. DJ Curtis, who was really rising up in the championship standings, he gets involved. I believe Hardnett was in it. There's Jake Rogers, and then you got a junkyard of cars, McCrory, Shelley, Jefferson. And I want to say that I believe I saw the 26 of Joey Parkhill was involved as well. Other cars who got damaged I didn't know about. Phil Parker, Tim Fiegel, and even Chris Dollarton were involved in this. What about Sheldon and Miles? I believe they are okay. I don't see anybody else who has damage, at least right now. But a good 10 plus cars sustained damage in whatever had just taken place. And I believe McCrory, he may have just gotten turned around and got stuck between the apron and the racetrack, and that's why he teleported. But Dylan Poteet managed to get ahead of all that chaos and is now the race leader, as we have made it almost a third of the way through the Pepsi 400. Let's go ahead and take you to the replay of what brought the caution out for the first time tonight here at Daytona. Well, here's how it all starts. They were 4 wide. It was between LeDuc, Jefferson, Parkhill, and Rogers, and it just looks like Jefferson just couldn't figure out a way out of that and gets into Dollarton and then up the racetrack collecting so many other cars. Cody Lamas was in it, and I didn't know about him. There's where McCrory gets involved, and so too does Shelley. Logan Bradley, I'm not sure if he got involved. I know Hardnett got some cosmetic damage out of all that, but what about the 90? Let's see if he actually got involved or if he just somehow, some way, just got on the brakes or let off the gas and avoided everything. Let's see. Yeah, it looked like Logan Bradley, a little scrape from the 18 of Cole Baker, but relatively gets through everything unscathed. In fact, that might have been one of the most impressive displays of wreck avoidance I think I've ever seen in this series. And in fact, here in a moment we'll go to an onboard shot with the 90 car, but let's go back and see how it was that the 00 and the 15 made it through, even though they took some pretty big damage. Let's watch, and we're also going to get a good shot. Yeah, it looked like Dollarton kind of came up a tad, and Jefferson came down a tad, and then they just made contact. But yeah, just very minor damage on the part of the 83, the 00, and the 15. And then meanwhile, there you see the chaos ensue behind. But somehow the 90 manages to avoid everything, gets through with very minimal contact, as we are actually going to go to the onboard shot with Logan Bradley now. Riding on board with Logan Bradley, watch as he avoids this crash. Manages to get right on through and avoid damage. Very, very impressive right there. So after that first caution, we got 3 cars officially done for tonight, and they include Joey Parkhill, James Shelley, and Jake Rogers. So another bad run for that 26 car, who's just not had anything go his way so far this season. 2 cars a lap down, and they are Anthony McCrory and Jay Jefferson, who are going to restart on the inside. So this restart could be really dangerous depending on what happens. But Dylan Poteet is the race leader. Second is Jordan Forbes. Third is Joshua Sekuli. Fourth, Melissa Alexander. Fifth is Jake Baskinger. Sixth is James Qualls. Seventh, Cole Deaver. Eighth, Carson Gum. Ninth, Seth Cole. And then 10th is Rob Evans. 11th is James McLeod. 12th, Bradley Zordrager. 13th is Zachary Fitzwater. 14th, Kyle Matthews. 15th, Matt McIntyre. 16th, Dylan Young. 17th, Trent Dunham. 18th, Rafael Leduc. 19th, Jonathan Zorline. 20th, Joshua Collard. And then the rest of the field is Chris Dollerton, Jessica Shelton, Benjamin Miles, Johnny Gardner, Dylan Jacobs, Caleb Kilburn, Charles Sanford, Emmanuel Hartnett, Logan Bradley, Cole Baker, Cody Lamas, DJ Curtis, Tim Fiegel, Phil Parker, and Michael Norman, with McCurry and Jefferson being a lap down. And we're getting set to go back to racing with 17 laps to go here in the Pepsi 400. Poteet got off to a fantastic jump on that restart. Got a bit of a gap between himself and Jordan Forbes, and is also going to have those two lap cars kind of be a bit of a pick. And I think, I don't know, maybe Jefferson could be up to speed, but I don't think so. I mean, he may be, because he's still keeping up with everyone, although he may be holding up that inside line, and that's why now we're starting to see cars running on the outside start to go by. I don't know, maybe it would be best for the 87 to try and get out of the way of everyone since he's damaged. And he's so far doing that, but he's still got about 5 cars behind him on the inside that he's holding up. So, bit of a miscommunication among drivers right now, but Poteet still hanging on right now up here at the front, but he's got Sakuli right to his back bumper behind him as they are starting to kind of pull away from everyone, although Forbes and company are starting to catch back up, and now they're definitely going to get caught back up because now Sakuli trying to look for a run on the inside and is actually going to get some help from the 77 of Jordan Forbes. And I don't know, maybe Jay Jefferson is up to speed somehow, even with a buckle on his hood. Let's actually go to his onboard. Yeah, he's got a buckle on his hood and big time rear end damage after that wreck. Somehow, I guess, is still somewhat up to speed, because now we're back to 3x3. Pretty much most of the field is 3x3 at this point. Although Collard, who you see back there at the tail end, starting to lose the pack, same with the 48, and among some of these other cars who I believe are off the pace now after being involved in that wreck. Dollerton looks like he's still up to speed, even though he got a tiny bit of damage during that crash. Back up at the front, however, new leader Carson Gum, who didn't get to lead a lap earlier. Now he finally does. This is now 14 to go, so we're past halfway here in the Pepsi 400, as meanwhile Sakuli trying to use the middle to get back to the front, but here comes Rob Evans, the points leader, who has yet to win a race this season, but yeah, he's been, well, definitely been the most consistent driver we've had this season. Most top 5s, tied for the most top 10s this season, best average finish of anyone at 13.7. Still looking for that first win of his career, as he will be back in that 88 car for Season 7. Bradley Zordrager in perhaps his only season, trying to get another win under his belt, as he won earlier back at Atlanta, and that was pretty early in the season, might I add. As right now he runs in the second position, as we got rookies running up here in the top 2 right now. Carson Gum in that third position in that 19 car, trying hard to just stay up here at the front. Emmanuel Hartnett, who I thought I saw get a little bit of damage in that first wreck, still up to speed himself and is working his way up through the front. Now Jay Jefferson and Anthony McCurry are now out of the way of everyone and have fallen to the tail end of the pack. Rob Evans still holding strong up here at the front. Jessica Sheldon, Rob's biggest competition right now in the championship standings. She's right behind him in the second spot. And now, wow, look at that move. Sheldon and Sanford, teammates out of Retro Racing Enterprises, both dive low to go on by the 88, but now Rob Evans' teammate Johnny Gardner trying to split that party up, as now he's up to second. But right behind him is one of Sheldon's teammates, or actually no, never mind, I'm thinking of someone else. But Chris Dollarton trying to split that up. Dylan Young, who did lead a lap early on in the race, he's trying to make a comeback at it, as he's now the first car on the inside line for now, trying to go by Dollarton and Sanford, as Sheldon now up here in the race lead. Oh man, I thought they were going to go 4 wide back there. That would have been bad. Dylan Jacobs, who... Let's actually take a look at where he stands in the points. After the last race that we ran, which was, I believe, Pocono, Dylan Jacobs has fallen down to 36 in the championship standings. This has not been his season, as he's been trying to do the best he could to defend his championship from last season, but it's just not been able to happen. But trying to look for a bright spot and keep his streak of getting at least 1 win per season ever since season 2. Right now has the spot, but now 3 wide as James Qualls takes it to the bottom to take the top spot. And remember, like I brought up earlier, next season Qualls will be leaving Retro Racing Enterprises to form his own team of Qualls Racing Corporation, in which he's going to have 2 teammates, Jay Jefferson being the confirmed one. The other one is to be announced. There's a couple different people kind of battling for that position as far as who could be the third car for that team. Could it be Phil Parker? Could it be a newcomer? We just gotta wait and find out at a later time, once the roster for Season 7 has been announced, as Sekuli had the lead for a moment, but look at James McLeod with a push from his teammate Dylan Poteet, as remember, both of these drivers, McLeod and Poteet, are definitely having their farewell seasons in this series, and the farewell season for Tweenix Racing, which has been a mainstay of this channel ever since the first season of the old Walmart Cup series. This is both Poteet and McLeod's farewell season, as well as the farewell season to one of the best teams to ever exist in NR 2003, Tweenix Racing. Both drivers trying to finish off their careers in this series on a high note. Poteet, who won recently, I want to say he won back at South Carolina just a few races ago, looking for his second win. Meanwhile, McLeod, who's been one of the most competitive drivers this season, he's along with Caleb Kilburn and Jessica Sheldon tied for most wins, but we got a crash! Hard, vicious crash! Bradley Zordrager was caught up in it. Matt McIntyre, Charles Sanford, Kyle Matthews, Melissa Alexander, another one of the... And then she gets hit again by Zordrager. Man, tough break for that married couple. And that's 2 out of the 4 Average Joe Enterprise cars that were involved. Luckily, Logan Bradley and Caleb Kilburn got through it all. Fitzwater I saw get turned, but I think he managed to save it and keep it going. But it looks like Rob Evans leads at the line. I don't know, it's going to be closest to if we get to go back green or not. I think we might be able to get either a green-white checkered or a 1-lap shootout. But time is going to definitely be running out for these drivers to battle it out. But let's go ahead and take a look at the replay of what brought the caution out for the second time tonight here at Daytona. So all this gets started as the drivers come through the trial. We'll watch the 9 of Johnny Gardner in front of Matt McIntyre. Gardner barely scrapes the safer barrier on the outside, and then you're going to see that causes the field behind them to start to scramble as cars come down. Matt McIntyre, Charles Sanford all come down, then come back up in front of traffic. And looks like Kyle Matthews just got boxed in up there on the outside wall. with nowhere to go. Jordan Forbes, I didn't even know was involved, actually got in there. But let's go back up here to helicopter camera where we're going to see the best view of what happened. No, both Gardner and McIntyre got the wall, and that caused the field to start scrambling. And then there you see everybody go for a slide job or for a hard hit. As right, Matt McIntyre took a pretty hard lick into the outside wall, and then Kyle Matthews just gets boxed in on the outside. Logan Bradley, I think for the second time in a row, even though he gets the wall just a tad just to avoid major hits and a little scrape in the front end, manages to somehow, someway get through another crash unscathed. However, Manuel Hardnett, who managed to get through with minimal damage in that first crash, does not escape this time, as he ended up with some major damage. Caleb Kilburn, I think, had one of the most miraculous saves I've ever seen. Is watch from helicopter camera, watch him as he avoids everything. Little bit of contact into Charles Sanford, which sends him going for a long, long slide, but luckily got it straightened out and avoids hitting anyone and manages to get through without contact. So lucky break for the 99 of Kilburn, as he managed to somehow, some way, just get through with just a little dent in the front end and go for a slide and keep it together. But with that said, let's take you to the restart, what could be our final restart here at Daytona. Well, we got 4 more cars that are retired and done from the race, and they include Bradley Zordrager, Charles Sanford, and then joining the bottom 5, Melissa Alexander and Matt McIntyre. So, tough break for the married couple of Melissa and Joey, as they both have their days come up short and are not going to be scored any points. But lucky break for Sanford and Zordrager that they managed to have pit stops ahead of those behind them to still get points. But we are going to have a green-white checkered. So after the green flag waves, next flag, whether it be the white or the yellow, will end the race. And then if we get to the white flag, it's on our way to the checkered flag. But the top 20 when we get back to racing, Rob Evans is your race leader. Second is Dylan Poteet. Third is Joshua Sekuli. Fourth, James McLeod. Fifth is Chris Dollerton. Sixth is Jake Baskinger. Seventh, Seth Cole. Eighth, Dylan Jacobs. Ninth, James Qualls. 10th, Benjamin Miles. And then 11th, Cole Deaver. 12th, Jessica Sheldon. 13th, Jonathan Zorline. 14th, Johnny Gardner. 15th, Zachary Fitzwater. 16th, Trent Dunham. 17th, Carson Gum. 18th, Rafael LeDuc. 19th, Caleb Kilburn. And then 20th is Dylan Young. Getting ready to go back to racing for the final 2 laps. Hopefully we can keep it clean and green to the end. Green flag is out. Next flag, either the yellow or white, will end it. But if they get to the white flag, then it's one final lap to the finish. Car's already trying to go low to make some moves. Seth Cole with a big move for himself, followed by James Qualls and Benjamin Miles. But they're going to have to really work together and hope the drivers ahead of them start racing each other to have a chance at it. Meanwhile, it's going to be side-by-side for the lead, maybe? Yes, it will be side-by-side. Evans, Poteet, as Poteet's getting pushed by his teammate James McLeod. Seth Cole, longtime friends for both, he's up here into the picture. Poteet goes up high to block, but left the bottom open for McLeod to make a move as the white flag is out, and we are going to be able to continue to the finish. No matter what, if we get a wreck, we still race it to the line. Poteet's going to end up giving up the lead as here comes McLeod to the inside, who has help from the 98 of Seth Cole. Does Seth Cole have something for the leader? McLeod goes up high to block his teammate. He can still come down and he'll be able to block the 98, and now the outside lane's starting to get some runs going. McLeod and Poteet up here in the top 2. Have we ever had a 1-2 finish among Tweenix racing cars? I don't think so, so this is going to be an historical moment. Poteet going to the bottom. Can he make a move work? Oh, it's going to be a photo finish at the line. Checkered flag. I couldn't tell who got it. According to scoring, James McLeod got it. Just barely, though. Just barely got it. As James McLeod wins the Pepsi 400 at Daytona in a photo finish with his teammate Dylan Poteet. Wow. Best finish of the season by a country mile for sure. Holy cow, that was exciting. And congrats to McLeod, and that's his third win of the season, most of anyone so far here in Season 6. And first time ever, to my knowledge, Tweenix Racing teammates finishing 1-2 in a Marvel Studios Cup Series race. As let's take a look at the rest of the results. Poteet made one final gasp off of turn 4. If only he had someone right there on his bumper, he may have had it. But comes up short just barely by, according to scoring, 1/100th of a second. Closest finish of the season by far, but still gets a great run in second. Rob Evans, consistency continues, doesn't get the win, but still gets a great points day, finishing in third. And then James Qualls with a great run in fourth. He kind of came out of nowhere towards the end of that race to get a top 5 finish. And then Benjamin Miles manages to come through in the 5th spot. Seth Cole couldn't quite make the inside line work on the final lap on the backstretch, but still gets a 6th place finish. Dylan Jacobs, much needed good run in 7th. Joshua Sekuli finishing strong in the 8th spot. Jessica Sheldon continuing her consistent run here this season with a 9th place finish. And then Jake Baskinger with yet another top 10, but not a top 5. Still gets a great run in 10th. And then there's the rest of your top 20. Then your top 30. And then, of course, the rest of the field with the bottom 5 being Melissa Alexander, Matt McIntyre, Joey Parkhill, James Shelley, and Jake Rogers. Well, that does it for our coverage here for yet another great race here at Daytona with a phenomenal finish. Couple of big wrecks, but typical restrictor play racing for you. As next time we head to Old Spice Raceway for our only trip there this season. But until then, here are your final results, rookie points and regular points heading into Old Spice. And this is Levi McIntyre signing off.